Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Matt Moreno. And Matt, a little bit of good news for the Dodger fans. We got some prospect rankings out from Baseball America. They released their annual top 100 prospect list. And it's good stuff for the Dodgers. 5 guys placed inside the top 100. Diego Cartaya, the young catcher, leads it, number 23rd on the list. Bobby Miller is 38th. Miguel Vargas is 40th. Michael Busch, 76th. Ryan Pepiot is 99th. As you see that list, 5 guys in the top 100. For a team that's as loaded as they are at the major league level, that's pretty encouraging.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think, at least for me, there's a little bit of surprise with Vargas being ranked so high.
Yeah.
You think he kind of, at least from the Dodgers perspective, gets lost a little bit because they have so many standout pitchers that everybody is high on. Diego Cartaya is a name that we've heard for several years now. And
yeah, not even 21.
Right. He's so young, and he's arguably a significant reason, if not the main reason, the Dodgers were willing to trade Keibert Ruiz last year to get Max Scherzer and Trey Turner.
Yeah.
So to see him ranked so high is exciting. But then you also, like you said, he's not even 21. So you kind of have to temper expectations because he's probably not going to be the first prospect we see from this group at the major league level.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Justin Lorber, FutureDodgers.com, his stuff, Cartaya, I mean, he hasn't played above high A. So, or A-ball, I should say. So, yeah, temper expectations with him. Yes, he's at the top of the list, but that doesn't mean. Whereas Ryan Pepiot, who is 5th on this list, 99th overall, he pitched at AAA. So he is the guy that is probably closest of the group to making a major league impact. And there's a few observations I have. First of all, we just passed the international free agent signing period. The Dodgers signed 30 guys. Somebody tweeted at Justin and I like, hey, are you guys going to do a show? And I'm like, look, I wish I had information on the 17-year-old kid from Venezuela that we signed. I simply don't. There are people that are in the know. I am not one of them. But you look at this list. Diego Cartaya, international free agent signing. Miguel Vargas, international free agent signing. Andy Pages, another guy who didn't crack the top 100, but who many people think is one of the Dodgers' top 5 prospects, another international free agent signing. Whereas Bobby Miller was a first-round pick, Michael Busch was a first-round pick, and Ryan Pepiot was a third-round pick. So there's a lot of different ways to sort of build up your farm system. And the Dodgers obviously had success in doing both of those. But yeah, I mean, just looking at Eric Steven at True Blue LA, he put together a list of like how many guys the Dodgers have put in the top 100 on this list going back. And 5 is a lot. I mean, they had 7 in 2020. They had 5 in 2019. They had 7 in 2016. But other than that, in the top 13 years, this is basically tied for the second most prospects they have ever put inside the top 100. Yes, guys like Cartaya are a long ways away, but it's encouraging because some of these guys do seem like they're on the doorstep, if not in 2022. Definitely a handful of these guys we'll see in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. Last year, Andrew Friedman at the end of his end of season press conference, he alluded to Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepiot, being among some of the young pitchers / pitching prospects in the organization who could very easily factor into the equation for the major league team this year. And obviously that would be, their MLB debuts for them, and somebody like Andre Jackson, who isn't on this list, but he was mentioned in that as well. I think it's good. It's encouraging for the Dodgers. Last year we saw a little bit of a lull on the position player side, which, we might still have to see that develop from the farm system because some of their depth that we, alluded to wasn't really there. Cartaya, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but he's not necessarily part of that just yet. But maybe, Michael Busch, somebody like that can kind of make a quick ascension.
Totally. Yeah, if you're looking at which of these guys might be able to make an impact next year, I think Pepiot is probably at the top of that list. Again, he's the only one on the group that reached AAA last year. Now, that doesn't mean everything. There used to be a day when you had to go from single A to double A to AAA. It does seem like a lot of teams view double A very differently, not better or worse, but just differently than they view AAA just because of the age of guys that you're playing against. AAA is a bunch of older guys basically playing in that league, whereas AA is maybe where some of the better prospects reside. So Michael Busch, who hasn't played above AA, who knows? He is a little bit older on the prospect side. He's coming up on his 25th birthday here pretty soon, and so he could be a guy that could be ready. Not probably opening day, but who knows? He's also the type where you have a good spring training and who knows what could happen. James Outman's another guy, not a top 100 prospect, but I think a guy who had a great last year in the Dodgers organization, was up at AAA, did obviously see some tastes at the major league level as well. And so I think there is some hope on that front, but it's funny because at the top end, it doesn't feel like any of these guys are ready. This isn't, a few years ago when Gavin Lux was a number 4 prospect in all of baseball on this list, and you're like, oh man, he's ready. He's been dominating AA. He's been dominating AAA. Let's bring him up. That's not necessarily the case. We see even last year, you had Ruiz, Gray, and Bush were the 3 on that ranking list. Obviously, Ruiz and Gray both traded. But so it's I'll be curious to see how this plays out. Just looking at, by the way, it is interesting that Michael Bush did move up from 87th to 76. So that's a guy that I think as a prospect seems to have had a roller coaster ride. So to see him moving up a list, I think is encouraging. I mean, you and I aren't prospect guys. When you look at these 5, is there one in particular that maybe you're most excited about?
I think Cartaya, only because we've heard so much about him from the very beginning. Yeah. And I preface all that with saying I understand that it's going to be it could very well be a handful of years before we see him. So I guess if you want to then look in terms of maybe who's going to make the most immediate impact, probably somebody like Pepio.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, I think obviously Bush gets me excited because the Dodgers have such a need on the offensive side. It feels like finding depth. But man, the stuff that I read about Bobby Miller just feels like this is a guy who, if you're looking at a pipeline of Dodger prospects who have come in and have delivered and lived up to the hype, it feels like Bobby Miller is that guy, the velocity, the movement, the nastiness. And so, again, I don't think it's going to be 2022, at least not the beginning of the year. But I do think by the end of the year, he might be a guy who could be in the mix. And it does seem, when you look at the Dodgers and the way they're building their rotation, even with Andrew Heaney in a short deal, they're saving space for Bobby Miller. They're saving space for Landon Knack, for Ryan Pepio, for Clayton Beater, some of these guys to fill in those spots. In addition to Mitch White, who used to be on this list, and Andre Jackson, who had a big jump but hasn't been on a list like this. So lots to talk about, lots of interesting stuff. And again, I love prospect lists, not because I know a ton about these guys, but it's just like it's fun to think about the future of the Dodgers organization. It's impossible to deny the Dodgers' success has been fueled by the guys who show up on lists like this. Corey Seager, a former number 1 overall prospect, panned out all right. Cody Bellinger has panned out all right. Walker Buehler, Julio Urias. The list goes on and on and on. So again, the headline is Dodgers placed 5 prospects in Baseball America's top 100. Diego Cartaya, 23rd. Bobby Miller, 38th. Miguel Vargas, 40th. Michael Bush, 76th. And Ryan Pepio, 99th as well. Let us know what you think below, who you're most excited about. We'll try and get some more prospect talk coming up here over the coming weeks and months as we look forward to opening day. That's Matt Moreno. My name's Jeff Spiegel. Check out DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 everywhere on social media. And of course, please ring the notification bell, click subscribe below, and we'll see you soon.